Hello and welcome to another very special Snap Crew interview. Today we have the writers for animated series and movies such as Gargoyles, Beetlejuice, Street Fighter, Mummies Alive, RoboCop, Alpha Commando, Inspector Gadget's Last Case, a personal favorite of mine, Red Planet, and of course, the animated X-Men series, which ran from 1992 to 1997. Widely regarded as one of the best animated superhero shows, Fight Me, and responsible for giving us the theme that most of us went to bed within our heads. But more recently, they've released a book titled X-Men, The Art and Making of the Animated Series, which you can buy on Amazon. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric and Julia Lewald.
With computer audio. How close are we to actually being there with you? Close?
We are here. We are live. Hey guys.
Hello. So
Nice
is it
to officially meet you both. Sorry.
you are representing? I like it. The team
Yes,
colors.
yes.
Very good.
The X-Men, they are my childhood. Also, I know we met, but how do you guys like to go about? Is it Eric, Julia, Mr. and Mrs. Lewald, or
Eric and Julia?
Eric and Julia, please.
okay?
But that's very kind. Yeah.
Sure, for sure. No problem. So we're gonna have one more. My co-host he's running a little late, so he'll join us soon.
Cool.
But yeah.
And what's his name? Just so we get that straight.
Lucas.
You're-
Lucas. I'm
Lucas.
Daniel and he's Lucas. Yep.
Okay. And you just like Dan or
Daniel,
I'm sorry. Daniel? You prefer Daniel?
Daniel's fine.
Okay. Just 'cause we saw Dan the man and kind of
Dan
wait, now,
or
are we getting
Daniel.
an echo here?
Do you hear? I don't hear an echo, but is it on your end or is it me? If it's
it's a little, and I'm not sure why it's there, but it's light.
okay, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, because we can work through it. I just don't want your recording to get messed up.
No, it's not a problem at all. I had the same. Zoom is never kind to me, so something always goes down.
Be what it'll be.
Yeah. All right. So first thing is, I don't want this to seem like an interview, guys. At the end of the day, we're humans, and I just want us to chop it up. Two friendly people. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So
Help us out. My brain's a sieve. How do we know each other from a previous life? How did that work? How did we meet each other? How do we know each other from?
so I actually reached out to Eric via email, and he responded.
Okay.
I told him that I was going out to California for school, and he told me to hit him up when I made my way out there. And then by the time I did go out there, you guys had a family emergency, so we weren't able to meet.
Where are you right now?
North Carolina, the 919, North Carolina.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
Now, sadly, we are of a magic age. We're having more and more of those.
It's okay. No, it's all good. You guys.
I need to grab some more prop things here for
For
me.
sure.
I'll be right back.
Take your time.
So, how is it there? I miss all my friends in East Tennessee, so not too far from you.
North Carolina is it's snowing during the summer. The weather's never the same. It comes and goes. Right now it's pollen season, so it's been kind of rough, going out places, but
I heard pollen season made me laugh. That's why I need
Yeah.
my nose.
So are you near the coast or near Raleigh or
near Raleigh. Yep.
My best buddy from high school teaches at NC State.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Small world. The world is too small for this. Can you believe it? That's amazing. So guys, I want to know, how's your day been so far? How's your 2021 been so far?
Well, at this moment, 1 year ago, I think we're all doing a lot better. We are both double vaccinated now, and our young adult kids or old adult kids they're getting their vaccines, and where we're talking to you from right now, we have a neighbor behind.
We had a
the fence.
neighbor who passed from it.
He
from
went
COVID.
to his, he was Armenian and went to Armenia to help, because that's just the kind of guy he is. Just
Yeah.
and horrifically, he contracted it there and passed away there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Right.
oh my God. You know, so
It's been weird,
been
weird
rough out.
upside down. I'm
Yeah.
sure you have friends who haven't worked for a year, or businesses have gone down.
oh,
And of all things, I've been a partner in a motorcycle shop here for 37 years with a couple
Right.
of Tennessee buddies.
Right.
And we just thought, we'd had a couple, 3 tough years before this. And,
Jeez.
and when it hit, we thought, I don't know if we can make it through it. And then suddenly everybody who couldn't go to Disneyland or go out to eat or travel, they had money in their pocket. And, hey, I'm going to buy a bike. So it flipped itself, and we had the best sales year we've ever had, in like 10 years.
Wow. See, and I find that interesting, because the Rona for me has benefited me tremendously, because I'm an independent filmmaker and I was not able to make a movie when the world was right. But it wasn't until after, now I'm in all these other projects, I'm making my second film in the second weekend of June. But I did take a loss. My aunt passed away from it.
oh no.
Yeah. So it's okay. She was always supportive of my film career, and I'm, more reasons to press on for sure. I've been vaccinated.
That's true.
I'm
That's
gonna
very
have
true.
my second dose, I believe, on Monday. Mhm.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
Be prepared to feel like crud for about a day.
Yeah. Just understand it's coming and just write it out.
Oh
you know?
yeah. Got no choice. Got so much,
Yeah.
Yeah. But besides all of that, so take me back to the beginning. A young boy and a young girl from Tennessee and Texas. You found what was that one thing that made you, I want to do what I want to do, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. And then you made your way to find each other, and how'd all that go?
Yeah, well, with her, it's the most fun story.
Well,
Tell me about your friend.
I grew up I was born in Wisconsin, family moved to Texas, so grew up in Texas. I went to college at Texas Tech University out in Lubbock, Texas, which is just the flattest. It's the edge of the Great American Desert. It does not feed your soul. We're not recording this, right? I don't want Texas Tech to get pissed at me.
I'm not saying a thing.
I had planned to go to a graduate school program. My parents were doctors. I thought I'll go to medical school, I'll go to law school, I'll do some kind of graduate school program. So graduation was about to happen, and it's January, and I bump into a pal in a parking lot of what was then a record store. And she said, I'm moving to California to student teach in music. She was a very talented pianist and vocalist. I hear they pay people to write in Hollywood, and you like to write. Do you want to come with me? And it's like, you could do that? You can leave where you are? You can move to Hollywood? No one, I'd never known anyone who'd ever done that. And I sure didn't know anyone in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents were supportive in the fact that if I made it to LA and got into a graduate school program of some kind out in LA, they could support me through that. The fact that I had that kind of support from my parents moving out to LA, I managed to get into Southwestern University School of Law and graduated, and always wanted to be. Now that I'm here, it's like, I want to be a writer, but I don't know how. And again, computer world didn't exist. The internet was not a thing. There were no way to easily reach out and find your people.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me 10 years of going to law school, practicing law, writing spec scripts, joining an improv troupe, just trying to find out how to.
Oh, nine.
And then I got my break, and my break was softball team, which I can't play, but on that softball team, who said, you can pitch to Disney Afternoon. They're looking for writers, and you don't have to have an agent, which I didn't have. So I went in every Friday. They had an open door. You could go in and pitch to what would become their afternoon, their Chippendales Rescue Rangers, that thing.
Yeah.
And every Friday for 6 months. I'm telling you this just because it's 6 months of me going in, pitching ideas that they never bought, but they were very kind and they didn't, close the door on me.
Right.
I finally came up with an idea. And by that time, it's like I'm learning what they're trying to fine. I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, oh, wait a second. Okay, what can I do with the characters? That's a character-driven story. They said, okay, we'll buy the story. Do you want to try and write the outline? Yes, please. Okay, did that. Now here are your notes. Do you want to try and write the script? Yes, please. Okay, here's your notes. Can you rewrite it? Thank you. And well, we're hiring. We just had someone take a leave of absence. Do you want to come work here?
Right.
And that was it. I was, and you tended at that moment to get signed for a 3-year contract. So it was like the world's greatest graduate school at that time for me.
For sure.
And from there, entered the freelance universe, and here we are.
Yeah, everybody now is absolutely freelance.
Yeah.
I mean, almost no way. When I got started, I got on for a year at a time at Hanna-Barbera, and then one of these things at Disney.
I'm sorry, let me go.
3-year deal at Disney.
Go ahead.
And so that was a lot easier on your bank account and on your anxiety about your career, because nowadays someone they break in, they'll maybe get 1 script feature, which is like 2 weeks work.
Right.
And then they don't know if they're ever going to get another one. You're sitting by the phone, you're calling all the folks that are hiring, and well, not this week, well, not that week, and then it's kind of hurry up and wait kind of thing.
Yeah.
Suddenly you'll get a call in. Oh, we need 4 people. We just got a script order. Can you make it? So we've gotten used to that, and that's okay. But when we were younger and we had these longer employments, it was a real gift.
Yeah.
With me, it was a neighbor. This is the usual thing in Hollywood. You're busting your ass. I love movies. I programmed them at my college when, back in the 70s. Came out here, had been just planning it. There's really no film industry in Knoxville. So if you want to do this, you have to
go where it's at.
Yeah. So, and I got out here, and my buddy and I had made a low budget movie
in Tennessee,
in East Tennessee.
Did you?
For like $12,000 that we borrowed and scraped together and begged off of people, and actually sold it.
Okay.
Kind of a drive-in.
Yeah, but back in the old days before you were born, when cheap movies come out, they come out to the drive-in, and you go to the drive-in movies, and it'd be these, the cheerleaders on fire or whatever,
or in your case,
in my case, incoming freshmen. So we made this movie with a bunch of our local people, and barely sold it, and got taken by the Hollywood distributor as far as the money went, but still had the success. And this is gonna be easy, and go out to Hollywood, and they just kind of shook their head and said, look, buddy, we don't know you. I'm happy for you that you got a movie on the screen, but if you want $5 an hour, here's a broom kind of thing. So my buddy got a job working at an editing supply store. I came out here, and I had some unemployment insurance saved up, and I was just typing and typing. And then a buddy next door said, Hanna-Barbera just got a bunch of new program orders. Right. And I know you've got a stack of scripts, and I know you're trying to break in the business. Do you want me to show one to my boss? And those are golden words. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So so the head lady at Hanna-Barbera read it, and she said, these are also golden words. They say, he can write okay. Doesn't mean I got a job. It just means I've gotten this little stamp of approval that I can go in, and like she was doing for Disney. Mm-hmm. When a show's open, I can go in and pitch to see if I could get an assignment, pitch story idea.
Yeah.
And some buddy of mine and I from college.
Another buddy. He had a lot of buddies.
A lot of buddies from college. We're out here at our first job, and we sell a story to a Transformers-like show in the mid-'80s called Challenge of the GoBots. Mm. And it was the same kind of thing, vehicles that transform into robots and fight bad vehicles. and they had an order for 65 of them, so they needed a lot of writers fast.
Okay.
And we learned real quick. A lot of red marks on that script, and I'm embarrassed to think about what I didn't know when I was writing that. And got it through. And then they looked at us and said, do you want to do another one?
Right.
And we said, yeah, we'd love to, but we're not really a writing team. We just did that kind of to get the job, could you give us each one?
Mhm.
And the bosses looked at us and said, well, but we don't know. What if one of you can't write? You know, what if the other guy, one of you was good and the other one sucked, and the good one was kind of pulling the weight on this.
Right.
Real quick, before we could just say, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work out. We said, okay, give us two, and you got my word. If I'm the good writer and my buddy sucks, I'll rewrite his for free, and he'll do the same for me. I said, okay. And then we both ended up with like 30-year careers in the business.
Wow.
But it was that first moment
Yeah.
so that was challenging the GoBots, and we ended up doing about 6 or 7 of them each.
Neither one of us, my big design was not I've got to write for children's animation.
Mhm.
I just want to go to Hollywood and try and be a writer.
Right.
And it happened to be the way in for me, and I'm gratified and happy. It's the joy of writing something that actually gets produced and out there is huge.
That
Yeah.
is
So
and not unfortunately a lot of people that try to break in cannot say, because they spend so much of their young years trying to get in, and then they don't break in until later. Oh, here we have our other co-host. All right, give them a warm welcome, guys. Lucas, where you at?
okay, we're just getting the overhead light situation figured out here.
Go ahead.
Dun, 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 dun. I see Rogue's.
Oh yeah, that's his his name, but let's see if he's Lucas, are you there?
I'm trying. My
He's
video
halfway
is
there, we can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
Yep. But when he gets on camera, we'll do introductions, you know? Yeah.
Why can I not be seen?
Zoom doesn't like Lucas either, apparently. I'm not sure what's going on. It's
We're here. Whatever you figure it out. God knows we have our challenges computer wise.
right. No, it's okay. We're gonna make it through. We're gonna make it through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can go ahead and get started, and if it figures itself out, then cool. If not, I guess I'll just be faceless for this interview.
All
We
right.
can imagine what you look
There
like.
you go. Yeah.
So we kind of covered their origin story, Lucas. Did you have any? They kind of got me caught up to the present already. Did you have any questions for them?
I have.
Are we starting?
Go ahead.
I mean, is something hit record, or how are we doing?
Oh no,
No, I'm just asking.
no, no, you're fine. The record button is hitting. We are recording.
Okay.
Yep.
It's all good. Yeah, no, I have a lot of questions actually, but you know, we'll just kind of get into them naturally, you know, see where things go. What have we covered so far?
Oh, just how we got into the business.
Yeah.
She came out from Texas. I came out from Tennessee. Didn't know anybody, and
At all.
took you know, 5 or 6, 8 years
For you, 10 for me.
Yeah, to break in and get our first professional assignment out here, and then
Each.
after that it was
We met. That's how we met.
Yeah, then we met at Disney when she came on, and you know, had offices down the hall from each other, and explained to Daniel that nowadays just about everybody that works anywhere, it's pretty much just job to job. It's assignment to assignment.
Freelance.
And but back then there were a couple hundred of us at various places that were, I don't know, it's a couple hundred, but at least 100 at Disney and Warner's and places that were on staff, and you get a year deal that would usually repeat. It would end up being like 3. We have both each ended up there being at Disney for 3 years, and that was this gift. Learning the business while you're paid, and not worrying every 2 weeks about having to hustle for another job. So
that came out of that time when the industry was gearing up for 65 episode orders all at once of any particular show.
Oh boy.
So they needed to, they had this giant train that was leaving the station, and they just needed it you know, they needed to have people in place to get the jobs done. Which is not how they order shows these days.
And the old days, like the early 80s when I'm trying to break in, it was, you know, they'd sell, the networks would pick their slate of TV shows, kids TV shows in February, because it takes about 6-8 months to produce one minimum. and then they premiere in September. And during that time, the Hanna-Barbera, wherever, would produce it. Like if it was the Smurfs or something, they'd make an order of 13 half hours of those, and they'd play them 4 times during the year. And that was the order each year was 13 for your show. And then somebody came up with this smart idea of, like with He-Man, these other shows, playing them 5 days a week in the afternoon. So then you'd order 65, and 65 would last you for 13 weeks. And so it's 5 times as big an order. And people, and that's how I got in at Hanna-Barbera. Suddenly, I mean, they had what was they call them temporary offices, you know, little trailers,
like satellite offices
in the back of the building.
Because they just
they stuck, you know, like at schools where you have temporary classrooms. They suddenly needed a bunch more writers in to crank this stuff out, and a bunch more artists to draw it.
And they actually wanted people there on site versus today where everyone is, there's no writer's room. This is our writer's room.
X-Men was done on our dining room table. We, after Hanna-Barbera and Disney, when everything went freelance, everybody just works from home, and you got writers. And in the old days before the web, writers used to laugh about they're getting behind on a script, and they'd have to get it to me. They couldn't email to me. They couldn't send. They'd have to drive over with a floppy disk. They'd have to speed over through Los Angeles traffic and drop off a floppy disk with an X-Men script on it to make, you know, so I could get it in. But that was our level of technology back in the good old days.
In 1994, there was the LA earthquake.
Yeah.
And hey, the earthquake happens, and the electricity may go down, but God darn it, you needed your scripts. And Brooks Wachtell, one of the writers on X-Men, not that he assumed that there would be a break in the action, but he called and said, "So do you still need the script tomorrow?" And you said yes. So,
yeah, they didn't have any earthquake in Korea. That's what
right.
So
that's funny.
Script over. Yeah, which
amazing.
is one of those. Yeah, and you couldn't email it. That didn't occur back. That didn't exist. So yeah.
Oh, you guys definitely. Well, I gotta salute you for pressing through those times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting.
What I got to know is, what is your thoughts on storytelling from back in the day to what it is right now?
Having had the chance to write for Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, which were all anthropomorphic little furry creatures, and then getting the opportunity to write on X-Men, which were beings with weird mutations and superpowers, and truly it comes the best stories on any platform are the most personal stories and the most intimate stories. And those also, because of that, are the most universal. And I've used the example of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Right.
I'm not Greek, you know, but the fact that movie told a story with so many specific details that even if those weren't details that were from my family, I saw that kind of detail in my own. And oh my God, that's so funny. The Windex. Oh, okay, my family didn't use Windex, but it's like I get that family detail with someone who, that kind of father character. And even today with the raft of superhero stuff, which is fantastic. It's not the superhero-y stuff that I think tends to make your most compelling story. It's your personal story that is your most compelling.
Right.
Yeah, and when we had really good executives. It always depends on who you're writing for, who's paying you check. Because if they tell you they want something silly and stupid and simple and dumbed down, and you fight against that, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, they're the ones that look at it and say, "This is what I want," and do it over. So in effect, when you're working in Hollywood, you're writing for yourself in the moment, because everybody does that when they're writing. But in the end, you're writing to please a client, a boss. Someone,
it's a collaborative industry.
Whoever,
collaborative
whatever they decide. If they decide X-Men is going to be this fabulous show, you get to push yourself to make it a fabulous show. If they want to be X-Men babies, it's going to be X-Men babies. And that's we've been on 40-some shows, and some of them are great, some of them are bad. Some of the shows are set up well, but you got a lousy executive above you that doesn't know what they want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a great executive, and the show itself, there's just not that much to do with it. X-Men was just like this perfect storm. Everything came together. The best executives we ever worked with,
Mhm.
best setup we ever worked with, best, collaborating artists we ever worked with. I mean, including Disney.
Right.
And it just was this one-time deal. And at the same time, this is hard for you two guys to think of it, your age, but when we got this gig in 1992, nobody thought it was going to be successful because they said, "Oh no, but kids aren't going to watch a Marvel show. They're not going to watch these people in funny clothes and all this stuff. That's for a bunch of nerds that that kind of live in their basement."
People knew Superman, people knew Batman,
But-
maybe Wonder Woman, maybe Spider-Man, but no one knew
There-
beyond that generally.
There's maybe one superhero movie a decade,
Right, and
there
it was Batman or Superman.
and the TV shows usually didn't work, and so we all got hired on for one season.
One season, 13 episodes.
And after we'd written everything and drawn everything, and we were waiting for the animation to come back, we all got let go because they just thought, well, this is going to be one and done. This is going to be 13. There's going to be 13 episodes, and X-Men's going to be over.
Next series will take its
Yeah,
place.
no, and a lot of the executives above my boss kept them looking and said, what are these adult scripts and things? No kid's going to watch. 9-year-olds don't care about all this emotional stuff that's going on between these characters. What are you guys trying to do? Are you trying to ruin us?
Yeah.
And so there was pushback and there was doubt, and then it became this huge hit, and that was great. And we got then there were no more notes. For the first year, there were nothing but worry and anxiety and what are you guys trying to do? And then people liked it, and everybody got supportive.
Am I remembering right? So it was the first season, 13 were all released. Second season called back for another 13, and then
No,
it was second season when they said
yeah, second season was another 13. But at that time they realized, okay, this is gonna be big. This is a big hit right now. We got to tie these people in. So we were tied in then. They didn't let us go after the next 13.
But
We were
Eric-
still on contract.
Eric being the showrunner, story editor, he was on board for the whole run of it. Those of us who were writers on the show, we would get individual episodes, but
Yeah.
there was no writer's room or writer's staff.
Oh yeah, this shows you how people in Hollywood could be clever with their money. Haim Saban looked and said, we got that first 13 and it's the #1 show on Saturday morning. It's kicking ass. It's making everybody money. And the writers kind of looked like, okay, what happens? Like if Friends becomes the #1 hit, all the Friends can double their salary, right?
And none of us had been signed to a contract.
Right.
So it's like, it's a huge hit. You want us
Great.
back? Well,
And so he just kind of scratched his head and he said, well, you know what? It's a #1 hit. Every writer in town's going to want to write on it. I'm going to cut salary $500 a script. So for the second season, all the writers got $500 less for their work.
and he said, if you don't take it, that's fine. I'll just hire someone else.
They're going to be lining up out the door. Eric, don't pretend they aren't.
But no, I got to stop you right there. No one knows them X-Men's like you two do. The way you both, I'm sorry, respect to Stan Lee, but that show, let me tell you, my cousin, his boy was Gambit. My boy was Nightcrawler. Okay. Gambit was his day one. All right. So, and the way you guys wrote that love triangle with him and Rogue and the Wolverine and all that, yes. Why would Hollywood not recognize the jewel that you are? It don't make sense. All right, go ahead.
But to Eric's credit, when you chose to make up the $500 difference for the 13 episodes that season, just out of your generosity.
Yeah, I was kind of the foreman of the job, so I just figured all these 13 folks, including my wife, are going to get underpaid. I'll make the check good, but it was. And after that, we had this freedom. And this is hard. Another thing hard to imagine. Marvel was having money troubles.
Oh my God!
And they went bankrupt in 1996 during the running of the show.
Yeah.
And what that meant was, today they're this multi-billion-dollar world-dominating place, and if we were to do a show today, every single word we'd write, there'd be like
filtered
a group of 20 people micromanaging us, looking over our shoulder, make sure we're doing what's best for Marvel. They couldn't afford or had to have the energy or the manpower or the will
or the financial.
Yeah, or even the leverage in the contract. They didn't have final cut. Fox TV did.
Yeah.
So for us who were trying to do our show, and for the artists, we had some great artists like Larry Houston. And he's the first African American to draw for Saturday morning.
Storyboard art, yeah.
Storyboard artist for 1979. He was our head. He was our head director, storyboard guy. He was in charge of the first 65 storyboards.
And he was a huge X-Men fan, as was Wilmenia, which
yeah,
is great.
He knew X-Men backwards and forwards. We were all so excited to do this thing the way we wanted, and having Marvel be weak, that was one more. There was one more cook. There was one more boss that couldn't make us stop and say, "Now, wait a minute. We've got a bunch of other ideas. We want you."
Yeah.
So that was a gift to us, that we were kind of under the radar. Today, with the internet and with Marvel, if a new show was coming out, I bet the scripts would get out, the stories would get out months before it came on TV. There'd probably be 50,000 fans, 10,000 of which think you're going the wrong direction with the
40,000.
characters.
Yeah.
With us, it was just, we get to write this in our dining room, man, and we don't have, and it's like we're the kids and the adults are all away.
See, and that's the thing that I miss about old school story, because not just with X-Men, but like with all the cartoons that I came up with, Clone Wars, Ben 10, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, I could go on and on. They had a certain type, like Static Shock, all the good stuff that had it had a lesson to teach the kids. You will not, that is non-existent. I was going to try to name one, but I can't. Okay, can't do it. So it's hard to, I mean, there are some revivals going on now. Clone Wars season 7 came back. So that's another thing I got to ask, because I know you guys are working on it. And even if you can't speak on it, that's okay. When the revival does come out, where can I audition? Where can I audition at? I got
yeah. Well, we really want that, and it's we know that
Our phone hasn't rung yet. Marvel hasn't called us.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and there's a weird Hollywood thing where new people come in and they've got their people that they like to work with, and so they tend to like to work with people your age, not our age. So if the phone ends up not being, we're not going to begrudge them that, no harm, no foul. But if they want somebody to run a new version of the show, and we know there's going to be a new version of the show sometime, it's going to happen.
Again, no one's talked to us. But this is Hollywood. This is how it works.
The X-Men are too big a thing, and animation is a profitable business. They'll figure out a way to animate the X-Men in the near future. They'll just do it. I mean, it's how we got the book. I don't know if you've seen the recent book.
There
By
it
the
is.
way.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they were because the people that produced the book were telling us, and he said, look, Marvel had and Fox had a bunch of rights together, and they were all separate. They came together about 3 years ago.
Right.
And now they said, okay, there's no more split rights. We have to worry about so-and-so owns Spider-Man and so-and-so owns Captain America. And so, okay, we can just start making the books we want. And the publisher sat down with Marvel and say, okay, of all the TV shows and of all, what will be the first thing that we should do a book of?
Coffee table book.
Yeah. And they said, X-Men, the animated series.
All right.
So they knew somebody at Marvel and somebody at the book.
Hello. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Knew that the fans had stayed with this, that 25, 30 years later, there's still millions of people that love that show and that would buy a book about it, or that would tune into a new show about it.
And with Disney Plus showing it now, it is, we don't get numbers on it, but we are aware that it is a very popular show on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's one
the
of
X-Men animated.
It's one of their big success. Yeah.
What is it with?
Now, let me put my word out. I'm putting my words out into the ether. This is me speaking into the ether.
Make it happen.
But I understand they're Marvel Disney's doing a what if series, a what if.
Yeah.
I have my what if. I want to do my X-Men what if. So even if they don't want us for a whole series, I want to do my X-Men what if.
Yes.
Yeah, whether they tend to.
I don't even know.
But
I think they're half hour. But it's our gang facing mortality, because time passes and things happen and people
I mean,
think.
I
So
just
there, ether.
I need that in my life. I
Yes.
need that in my life.
Please.
Now,
Okay.
no matter what they do with What If, I will be disappointed with it.
There you go.
Darn
You
it.
gotta have it.
So Lucas, how old were you when you first saw the show?
So I was born in 1994. So
Oh,
I like right in the prime, you know. So
I
I
caught it
on
on the 2000 run when they
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I caught it on the reruns, which honestly kind of made it a little bit more clear because I know there was Jean Grey was like my favorite character, and I know because of production issues there was a few episodes that got pushed back.
A few?
So her her revival wasn't exactly explained, so I feel like
No Mutant is an island. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like catching it on the reruns made it a bit more bearable for me as a hardcore Jean Grey fan.
Oh, if that had happened today, if you'd had your Dark Phoenix, if you had your Phoenix Saga, and then the episode that was supposed Dark Phoenix Saga,
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix Saga. Sorry, I'm backwards. And then if you had No Mutant is an Island episode showing 2 years, which is a follow up, which shows everyone grieving.
2 years later.
2 years later,
2 years.
which is what it took to get that episode done. I don't know if the internet could have supported it. It would have exploded. It would have exploded.
What do you mean she's back with the team and nobody's talking about
it?
Right.
And they'd be right. They'd be right. You know, so
Yeah.
we dodged several bullets just by default, but grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really stressful for me as a kid, but it's all good. I basically just got to watch them all back to back, which brings up the point I wanted to ask: what made you guys decide which storylines you wanted to adapt to the television?
For you, and I'm going to jump in, it is such a sort of badge of honor that years later, people still think of X-Men the animated series, refer to it as being one of the most faithful adaptation of the books.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say, if you go down and start, checking off every episode, there were not a lot of direct adaptations. Do you need one of the copies? Oh, he's just looking. Okay. I think one of the things that worked for X-Men the animated series was using the wealth of source material and then coming up with stories that work in the medium of animated television, because a comic book and a TV show are different things. Like a movie is different from a TV show. So I'll jump in on you. When you got the call to do the show in the first place, again, the idea was that it would only be 13 episodes. You only have 13 episodes because the show's going to fail. So tell the 13 stories you want to tell. And then for you and your head writer, Mark Edens, it was, well, what would those 13 stories be that can best introduce the X-Men and tell their stories?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's hard to remember now, but when we were given the job, we were given marching orders or given the information that 85%, almost everybody that tunes into the show on Saturday morning won't know the X-Men because they were popular comic books.
Hugely popular,
but that's like comics was like
a niche market.
Niche market. And so your average kid turning on Saturday morning or teenager or whoever is not going to know what a mutant is, not going to know who the X-Men are. So when Mark and we didn't know the X-Men very well. Mark and I had a lot of years of writing and loved writing heroic stories, but the art people knew the X-Men. We really didn't. So we didn't go in with an agenda like, oh, we got to adapt fill in the blank, book Uncanny X-Men 137. Oh my God. So we didn't have that fanboy stuff pushing us in the head. So what we did, Larry Houston made a copy of
black and white photocopy
of the Marvel Universe, which had every it was 1988 version, I think, had every character that ever been X-Men. There had been 29 different X-Men by that time in all the different books from 1961 to 1992. So we had all these 30 years of characters to pick from.
I love this. This is the picture, Larry Houston photocopy. Those are some of that. And you can see Professor Xavier standing upright. And you guys
You
had
got
to
to
make the
mark
notes.
through it, say, no, not in our show. No, he's not going to stand here. And all these years, there have been 29 different X-Men. There have been half a dozen different timelines of things. Magneto becomes a partner for a while. Different people come and go. They're good people become bad people, and vice versa. Rogue starts out bad. So what the Marvel people told us, what told Mark and me, was we stick to the spirit of the characters, stick to the spirit of the books, but take some freedom in deciding how you want your team of X-Men to work, which is what comic book people have been doing forever. After 30 years, suddenly you're the 19th guy to be put in charge of writing an X-Men series of books. Where do you take them that's a little new and fresh and different, but at the same time respects what's come before? So we were given a lot of leeway in that. And so since we didn't have an agenda, we started out thinking, how do you showcase these people best? And we looked through some old books as best we could, because they weren't on the internet yet. And best we could figure, there were a lot of books that was like one mutant battling another mutant, kind of like WWE.
Which is great. We love WWE.
And then the other half was like mutants dealing with humans going batshit over
them being mutants.
So this cultural clash of in fact the two societies, the one that didn't fit in with the other, or the one that was afraid of the other, the one that hated the other. And that was where all the interest was for Mark and me when we were writing out the first 13. Okay, we're going to lean our stories towards what's the X-Men's place in society versus which super mutant are they going to be punching at this week.
And on the practical side, that meant you got to introduce Sentinels, which were spectacular, but that also meant that Wolverine got to chop stuff up.
Yeah.
Because if it were truly mutant against mutant, Wolverine wouldn't be able to do anything, because it's a kid's show.
It's a kid's show. Right. He couldn't slash other mutants. So having the Sentinels for the first season as the overarching villains, they were a manifestation of the main culture humans' anxiety over X-Men.
Yeah.
They were the instruments that they were using to keep mutants down, to oppress mutants, to deal with mutants. And so it gave us a nice feeling for what it was like to be a mutant in this world. So we did that for the first 13 and the next 13. So the first 26, once we established the world, we look at it and say, okay, the best way to tell the stories, what is the most intense story we can make up? And if we can find bits of it in the books, great. If not, say, to show what's going through Beast's heart right now. And so Julie came up with the idea for the Beauty and the Beast episode,
where he falls in love with a female who is just
a blind girl
who regains her vision thanks to him, sees him, and still loves him.
And in the first season, we said, okay, what's the most intense story we could tell about Rogue? Oh, she gets a chance to get rid of her mutancy, because she's the one that suffers the most for her power. She can't touch anybody, and she's miserable, she's lonely. And so let's do a 2-part story around her getting what turns out to be a false opportunity, but getting what she thinks is an opportunity to lose or get rid of her mutancy and become a normal person. And she chooses it for a bit, and then finds out it's a scam, and she fights against it, whatever. We also were introducing people like Apocalypse and Juggernaut and others, throughout that, for major people. And
enter Magneto.
Yeah, Magneto, the main guy. But yeah, we'd start with the characters.
I will say that first season, your scripts were going into Marvel, and Marvel didn't have final cut or final say, but they were enjoying what you guys were doing. So that during those first 13, and I think, weren't they ones who said to you, well, okay, why don't you guys take a stab at Days of Future Past?
Somebody, we don't remember who suggested, when we were 4 or 5 episodes into writing the first one, and they said, by the way, there's this one thing, the Phoenix things are too big, and we don't want to go out into space, and that's too ambitious, and we don't have the budgets for that. But there's this one really good story in the books. Do you think you guys could make it fit in because they knew it's a slightly different team, different cast. Could you fit it in with your story about the Sentinels? And we looked at it, and it was such a cool story. So yeah, we could cobble that in, and we can make it feel like it's fitting in with the rest. So that was the one thing that they did ask, and we jumped on, and Julia got to write the first
I got to write part one of that.
part one of Days of
Yeah.
Future, which worked out really well. And the one big change we made on that one was, instead of like the soul of somebody going back, which was Kitty Pryde in the book,
Which is hard to
from
sort
old
of
Kitty
animate.
Pryde to young Kitty Pryde.
Right.
It's kind of hard. We thought it'd be hard to get across to your average 9-year-old. We'll have an actual physical character come back, like in Terminator, come back, and it was Bishop. And then we got to add Bishop, and he became popular, and we used it like a dozen episodes. So,
Right.
so that was the big change we made on that.
And there was a certain ignorance is bliss, because if I had been aware then of the magnitude of Days of Future Past, it's
How
like,
popular it was.
I'm not touching that. Are you kidding me?
It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
We were all ignorant. We didn't know to be afraid.
Yeah.
And that's good, because that's what that storytelling needed. So speaking of these very great characters, I really want to dive into what happened to Archangel, Psylocke, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Toad. Because I know that Archangel and Psylocke came in, I think it was the Beyond Part 4, where it was supposed to be the end of the show, but then you
Oh my God. Okay. Well, pull up a chair. All right.
we may be
Here's what happened.
we may be running out of time because Zoom has us on a
Yeah.
40-minute thing. But if we can re-enter this, if it cuts us off, can we just come back in the same
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah,
link?
we'll get you that for sure. Yeah, absolutely. That was, I don't know if you know the story yet, but we planned to end the season at 65
And the
episodes,
series.
and the whole series with
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil, that big 4-parter. In fact, there's a whole reason for the 4-parter. My boss asked me come up with a big slam bang ending to the series. So Mark and I laid out this thing, and we thought it would be really cool if 5 X-Men left, 4 new X-Men came on, and that would be at the end of the season,
Right.
kind of we wonder what the world's going to be like now that they've all changed.
Right.
There's a new team of X-Men.
So we set up Archangel, we set up Psylocke, and we set up Bishop and Shard, his
Mhm.
sister from the future. Bishop and Shard were going to be
Tragically.
tragically trapped in our time, couldn't get back. Archangel and Psylocke had proved themselves during this big 4-parter
Right.
as being worthy of being X-Men. And Jean and Scott were going to go off and be married and have kids. And Xavier was going to go off, and
Storm.
Storm was going to, they were going to start, there was this Marvel thing coming up with like young kids. Well, I forget the name of it. It was Mutant X or whatever. There was some new group of, adolescents that were in the comic books, and we were going to have them go off, and Xavier is going to be more of a teacher and less of a
Right.
fighter. So 4 or 5 are going to go off. These 4 new people are going to come in,
Mhm.
and like the last image was going to be, look, the new X-Men, and that was going to be the end of the series.
Yep.
And
you,
then
you still have the outline. For
I
that.
still have the outline for that, with how it all ends.
Yeah.
Right.
You get this call saying, after you've written a 160-page script for this 4-parter, oh, sorry, we need to do 11 more shows.
No, you need to do 5 more.
5 more and then 6 more. But yeah, eventually 11 more shows.
For no reason.
With the original cast, because somehow I think Chaim Saban had made a deal with somebody to sell 11 more. So I said, rewrite that story. All these people come in. It looks like they're going to be stuck here. It looks like they're going to be part of the X-Men, but no, they don't. And they go back to their lives, and all of our people stay where they stay. So
Mhm.
that it was absolutely a practical thing that just pissed us off, because we really worked to set up this cool story where it made sense emotionally for 4 or 5 of our team to be going, which is
Right.
a big deal.
Yes.
And then it made sense that these new 4 had proved themselves and were now going to be. So we set all that up in the first 3 episodes of that 4-parter, and now we can't resolve it that way. Now that everybody says, "Oh, didn't mean that. Sorry."
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah.
off.
Right,
But-
because now when you got the permission to continue it, those characters just disappear. Like, so yeah, what's going on there? I know you brought back Nightcrawler one
Now
more
you know.
Yeah.
Now you know. Now
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Yeah. Why?
the behind the
Oh.
scenes, yeah, for sure. We still have like 6 minutes and 31 seconds.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was your favorite character? If his was Jean Grey.
Oh, my
Oh,
guy,
you Nightcrawler? I'm sorry, who-
Nightcrawler, not Night.
Nightcrawler.
Oh, great.
Yep.
And you know, that was tough. I mean, he was a real X-Men. And the first when we looked at him to bring him in as a guest, it was so great. We sit down and say, what's the most important thing about him? Well, he's a devout Christian. Okay, well, let's highlight that.
And I'm thinking it's a kid's show. Good luck, honey.
Yeah, because kids, the first thing about kids TV is they don't want to take any chances. They don't want to get half of America writing them nasty letters saying, how dare you write about Christianity like this or about God? What are you doing?
The previous job for you had been the second or last season of Beetlejuice
Beetlejuice.
for Fox Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
And you got and that
Fox
show
Kids got lots of nasty letters
from upset parents.
from mothers saying, how dare you have a show about Satan?
Yeah.
I'm
that's-
pretty sure my mom may have been one of those parents.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. We were worried about the X-Men, quote unquote, the violence, and the parents would write in. They didn't, but they wrote in about Beetlejuice being a demon from hell. And how
So-
dare we write a funny story that glorifies a demon from hell.
So when you got to Nightcrawler,
So we got to
and it's
Nightcrawler,
about
we were very-
examination of religion, it's like, oh, good Lord.
we were very
Oh, good
sensitive,
Lord.
to it. And it has ended up being, we've gone to lots of cons the last 3 or 4 years. And
Right.
everybody brings up that first Nightcrawler episode. You know, it's always a topic of conversation. Like you brought this guy in and you had Wolverine, you know, examining his struggling with his lack of faith, and you have Nightcrawler, and you've got all this, and that's a Saturday morning cartoon, and they loved it, but it was, and believe me, it took 2 or 3 weeks of talking with the censor lady, who was
A gal named Avery Coburn.
Wonderful.
She deserves credit.
a wonderful
Right,
woman
right,
who
right.
let us do that show,
Mhm.
because all she had to do was read it and say, no, can't do it. Anything in our TV show, anything anybody says, any action anybody does, no, Wolverine can't slash that guy. No, Wolverine can't punch Cyclops. No,
Morph can't die. at
Morph
all.
can't die.
Yeah.
We
She
had
was the one who said,
we had about a couple weeks of talking about Morph, saying we got to let him die so people can see there's a consequence to being an X-Men. And she, to her credit, we worked lots of other censors, and 8 out of 10 of them, 9 out of 10 of them wouldn't have let us do
Mhm.
either of those things.
Nope.
But she did, to her credit. So yeah, Nightcrawler is great, and I wish we only had him in. Really, we had him as principal in 2 episodes, but that's
That you're dealing with a team that's already 9 people.
it's so huge.
big, and then trying to bring in others was a challenge. So
Yeah.
as much as certain
Yeah.
characters would be great to go have more fun with them, there just really wasn't room in those those first
Yeah.
series.
And as far as when Luke was talking about Jean, she was an interesting, when we were tasked to do the show, they had 4 or 5 people that they said have to be part of the team, like Wolverine and Scott.
Oh, so it was like a limit.
But Jean wasn't one of them. It
Really?
was just Jean and Beast.
I don't know if you can see this. Eric wrote a book called Previously on X-Men.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
let me know if it comes into focus. But here's
Yeah.
a bit where it says
Yeah.
who the main X-Men are.
There we go.
Yeah.
There it is. There have been dozens of X-Men, and we are focusing on a manageable number, 13 episodes, 13, the A-Team, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jubilee, and Gambit. This is the
B
core.
team.
Yeah. The B
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
so-
Xavier
So
Oh.
Xavier isn't even listed there.
right.
So,
Yeah.
so what happened was when Mark and I were laying out the 13 stories, every time we got to
Yeah,
an
she's
important
other.
part in a story, it would seem that Jean had a great relationship with a different relationship with every single person
Yeah.
on the team, and people could bring stuff to her. She was just like this emotional glue for this
Mhm.
family.
She's like the
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah, and how could we tell the stories without focusing on her? And the secondary thing was Xavier. He was like the father. How could we tell the story without
Mhm.
him? And Beast was just so fun
Yeah.
to write.
Mhm.
So those
And-
3 guys asserted themselves. Marvel would have been happy if we just had them in 1 episode a year.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so I don't want to
Those
like
characters.
hold up any much of your time. We do have 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
Okay.
So would you guys like to chop it up some more about X-Men in another link? Like, if you have more time, that'd be awesome. But if not, I totally understand.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
like
15 more
15,
minutes?
15 minutes. We need to get to our kid a little after that. But 15 more minutes,
Sure.
we're cool.
15 minutes,
Okay,
great.
so-
We'll re-enter in another link. I gotta. enter.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all righty.
All right.
Okay,
Bye. It can be the same one, the same link. Yeah.
all right. I'm not sure. So I leave and then we come back?
In the same link that's in the email. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
We'll see in a minute.
Yep. Spectacular. Welcome to part 2. All right.
Okay.
That's Eric Chow's now.
So what else?
We got about 15 more minutes that we can do.
Okay.
Yeah. I can this again. I don't know how well this reads, but this particular early promotional poster, you can tell who's not in it. You don't see. You don't see Jean Grey. You don't see Gambit because people didn't. The early efforts at it didn't quite know who the team was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think I'll also say this, Beast asserted himself because on the writing side, he was just so spectacular to write. It was fun because as a writer, it's like you think you're the smartest person in the room. And Beast is the smartest person in the room.
Yeah,
So-
in every room.
Yeah, and the catch is he is the most intelligent. He's got all his stuff going for him, but he is also the most other looking. He is the one of the team who can't just casually walk down the street or go to the museum
You can't
and
pass.
not be a big blue furry guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But
that
Beast, he was always comfortable in his fur. So
yes, he was. And that that also made him a very compelling character.
yeah.
You know, and
Mhm.
so the episode Beauty and the Beast, when he has reason to bump up against his level of comfort in his own perception of self, made for a very satisfying story.
Yeah, we chose that on purpose because he's overcome so much and he
Mhm.
is so confident
Mhm.
and he's so in what he is, to make him have a moment of doubt that he works through. That made that story great for us. It wouldn't have worked for Jubilee. She hadn't been through that much, you know.
He was
Mhm.
just a kid, like
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that worked for him great. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lucas. I know you had plenty more, but I know we got like 15 more minutes, so I'm gonna let you handle it.
Oh, well, I have a few questions that kind of veer off of X-Men, if that's okay.
We can try.
Julia, what's the chances of us ever getting a Red Planet revival? Because
Golly.
that's 10 out of 10 for me. That's
Oh,
like
you
one of
know
my
what? And-
favorites.
Geez.
The voice cast on that, I
Yeah,
was
Mr. Mark
I was
Hamill.
a little girl going squeak, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, Mark. Yeah, that was one of those weird magic. I was like the second or third writer that got called in about this because there was just something Fox wanted to do. It was just those 3 episodes.
Yeah,
and it was
Mhm.
done.
a 90 minute.
Mhm.
And that's one reason she doesn't have more X-Men scripts, is she was spending 4 months working on that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was just again, there was a certain, and I grew up as a sci-fi geek girl in Texas, and it's like, oh my God, I get to work on something that's related to, you know,
It's a Heinlein story.
oh my God,
Yeah.
was a big source of personal satisfaction
Mm.
for me. But thank you for putting that out there in the ether. Let's see if
Oh,
the ether picks up on that.
He will repay in full if you
Oh
put it
Lord, here we are, 25 years later. And God bless Elon Musk if he isn't trying to get us to Mars. It's like, how did that
Yeah.
happen in my lifetime?
Yeah.
And
And speaking of, our older son works at SpaceX.
which cracks me
Oh
up.
wow.
What?
That's
At all.
awesome.
Dope.
Yeah, he works
Dope.
on the line, you know, checking out parts for the Mars rocket.
It's like, how the hell did that happen? You know that. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Congratulations.
Growing up in Texas,
Dang.
I was a big NASA baby, and then the idea that huge Apollo, huge space program fan, and then 50 years of not having a space program, and suddenly rockets are shooting off almost every week. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Safe Return of the Astronauts last night. It's like, oh my God, this is just becoming casual. It's
Yeah.
crazy to me. Crazy
Yeah.
to me.
You know,
Yeah.
Lucas,
Right.
Lucas, other shows that we happen to be on.
Gargoyles was
Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Gargoyles was really good. I know you did, Eric, the TV movie for Inspector Gadget.
Right.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that
Um,
it was a weird thing. Our close buddy, I think that was Dean Stephan, our dear close late friend,
Hmm.
Dean Stephan did the writing on it. I produced it. The for 3 years. I had a gig at Deke Entertainment, this place called Deke. This is a smaller house that
I'm pointing up here. He received an Emmy nomination for his work on My Fair Madeline.
yeah, and
nice.
and this place, like Disney's huge and Warner's is huge, and there used to be a dozen little, and Henneberry Barry used to be huge. Used to be a dozen little producers that would have 3 or 4 shows each, and they all kind of got swallowed up by everybody else, and so they don't really exist so much anymore. But one of the small producers, Deke, came up with Inspector Gadget, came up with Madeline, the TV show, and a bunch of other ones like Ghostbusters and a few. So
Strawberry Shortcake.
We had done a show called Mummies Alive for them, a 40 right after the X-Men.
Yeah.
And so when they're an opening happened for me there as become the executive working in-house for them, being the one that all the creative people brought the stuff to and supervised the work. So I was working at Deke as a creative executive when we made a deal with Nickelodeon to provide them 11 90-minute animated TV movies. And one of them was Madeline, one of them was Inspector Gadget.
There was going to be a Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, we actually wrote 14. We wrote a Josie and the Pussycats. Is one that didn't get produced, but just a whole range, whatever we could get that had a little bit of a name to it that Andy didn't have to pay much of anything for. So
the head of Deke.
Yeah, so he owned Inspector Gadget, so we did Inspector. But we had dear friend Dean Stephan. He wrote 2 or 3 X-Men. He was a friend all the way back to Disney back in like 1988. Just recently passed, and he was I wrote with him on, he was writing for me on the Gadget show, but the humor is his, the heart and the soul of that is his doing.
One connection, Dean Stephan story. When he wrote on X-Men, I had to use a different name.
Had to use his wife's name because he was cheating on Disney. He was still working at Disney and doing a little X-Men on the side.
But so,
Yeah.
things on the writing side that we all like to do was, if we got to write for Beast, was come up with the most obscure but perfect quote for him, and that also included using with the Bartlett's quotations, because there was no internet. And so Dean wrote an episode where Beast, it may have been No Mutant.
It's with Jean's dead, just died.
No Mutant is an island.
The Phoenix has died, and they're mourning her the day after. They're having a memorial for her, and Beast quotes the poet,
a Spanish poet, beautiful,
and about the river of life continues, whatever, this beautiful quote. And when I'm writing the book 20 years later, I'm checking up on all the quotes.
20 years later,
every other quote in X-Men was an actual quote from Shakespeare, from some more obscure poet. The one D made up, he just made up himself. He even made up the name of the poet, just as a gag.
We didn't catch it.
Just as a way to mess with me.
Wow.
And I didn't catch it at the time, and it went through. And after he passed, I found out that he was messing with me.
That's funny.
Oh man.
So
he gets the last laugh.
There you go. I like that.
Now that we're back in the Marvel Universe, was there ever talk of an animated Marvel Universe? Because I peeped connections, bro. I saw Spider-Man, I saw Doctor Strange, and all of them were in the X-Men show. And
we got to give Larry Houston credit, the producer, the director, art guy, and Will Mineo, because there all those wonderful Easter eggs that we can go back and point to now, but that kids who knew Marvel at the time were going, did I just see that? Was that him? Was that her?
We
Right.
didn't have the rights to do that.
No, the lawyers were slapping our
He
wrists.
stuck those in. He stuck those in illegally.
Yeah.
And what would happen was he tried, like early, like two or three stories in, he tried to put on a storyboard, which is what the lawyer goes over to make sure that the images
Black and white pencil.
and it's like 900 images and to make sure that there's nothing in there that we don't have the rights to. And he put in something about Spider-Man, and he came back and said, "Oh no, Marvel, the other people have the rights to this right now.
We just don't want you using it, so don't use it."
So don't use this. This will be a lawsuit or a fine. Don't jerk us around. Okay, fine. So after that, Larry figured out
Slave Island was the episode.
Yeah, where instead of naming somebody, we'd say Norseman on building, and it was Thor with hammer, and it was Thor. Or we'd say, big-headed guy in space, and it was the Watcher. So we would write some of the stuff, but Larry, when he would draw in Doctor Strange, he drawed all these people,
Right?
And he just would call them, physician or, background person at wedding. Doctor Strange was in like 3 different ways.
Yeah,
and he put all those things in there without permission,
and those slipped by the lawyers.
And the fans loved it.
Yeah.
And
because the Marvel comic books, as Larry pointed out, there was all this cross pollination. Like he was a big fan of one of the books where Thor swings through. It says, "You want to find out what's going on with Thor, kids? Check out this next book." He was a fan from that level, and then decided, well, okay, so if there is a Marvel cinematic universe or connected universe, we got to give Larry Houston credit for being the one who's planted those seeds.
So what you're saying is crime does pay.
It does. It does. Or at least artists having fun and rebelling a little.
There you go.
Yeah,
we'll
indeed.
That's so
awesome.
Lovely, and that you guys and Larry did that for the fans. Congratulations on all your success. What is coming next? What is next for Eric and Julia?
Can we just get through 2021 and maybe into 2022? You young people, I've never seen a year like 2020.
The people have a voice. We use our social media platforms.
Yeah, we really hope. Marvel has such a huge, market, or just a huge presence in the world, and we believe, along with a couple of the film TV critics that have talked about it, that we think superheroes work best in animation. That there's just something about it that suits them. That we're hoping. The one thing we missed doing, I think, was that we'd like to do, if we could get a shout out to Marvel, WB Animation, who makes the beautiful Batman show.
Yes,
they also did about a dozen DVDs, like 90-minute
direct-to-home video movies that were just like Spider-Man, Superman, Batman.
They're not expensive. They're if a big Pixar movie is $200 million, one of those little Batman movies cost maybe $10 million. It's like a 20th.
Right.
They just did one of those a year, and they did a real nice job with them. And we always thought that X-Men would make great 90-minute animated. And we can put them on Disney Plus now. I mean, it'd be a perfect place to put them. If you think about it, the Phoenix Saga, Dark Phoenix Saga, and Beyond Good and Evil, they were 88, 110, and 88-minute stories. So it's not like we don't have history with them, or that the characters don't hold up for that. They would hold up beautifully, I think. And if somebody did like an Age of Apocalypse story, or whatever you'd start with from the books and then expand it. I just think there's a real market for that, as opposed to just one more animated series. I mean, we'd love animated series would be great too, but those 90-minute animated shows, I think it'd be a nice thing. We don't have any in line. We might the publisher that we did this book with, Abrams Press.
What happened was this came out October 2020, and we were supposed to go to New York City Comic Con, which we'd never been to. We were so excited. But the world shut down, so we couldn't go.
Right.
But this has been selling great. This has been selling great. It's like the 3rd printing in like half a year. And so, who knows? We may end up would love to talk to Abrams Books about maybe doing another book on something, but this one, man, this just from the heart, just finding all this old stuff. It's, you know, old bits of art that's 30 years old. And
Because this is about the art and making of the show. Eric did an oral history of the show previously with a book called Previously on X-Men. And then we got, you know, like you said, we got to do the Indiana Jones scavenger hunt through Larry Houston's storage lockers and some other artists just to get the art in the show. Because the art is, now what you saw, what came out on Saturday morning and the weekdays, by that time it's gone through a lot of hands, and the animation, we know, you know, there's some, it was not Batman quality, but the art that went into the making of that is really spectacular.
Oh yeah, and it's just it makes you genre up. Nowadays everything's computerized and it's a little easier, but they used to have to.
With all due respect, Julia, it wasn't Batman quality. It was X-Men quality.
There you go. That's a spirit.
We One of our favorite quotes, Eric, from Sydney Unwater, about
the same guy supervised both shows at Fox, and he loved our show a little better. Thank you very much.
But we had a fraction of the budget.
Yeah, but he said, he said, Batman is slow jazz, X-Men is a garage band.
That's kind of how
and so he said, you think of it that way, we want them to be very, you know, and our artists knew that when they were drawing. Said, look, we want to be as comic book like as we can, and we know we can't be as as artisty and beautiful as some of the Batman episodes are, but we'll have our own energy. And a couple of our guys that even worked on Batman, they consciously said, we're going to cut this twice as fast. And if you look at the old episodes, Batman has kind of a leisurely pace, and X-Men rocks. And one of the reasons you rock is A, because you can, but B, because if you make it go slowly, you start seeing, well, the animation isn't quite as good. And
that model's a little off.
Yeah, that model's a little off. So there was a reason we were going fast.
Yeah, you never see anyone walk in X-Men.
They're always just arrive places.
They cut to the next shot. They're suddenly in the Blackbird.
That theme song still hit to this day. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Credit to Ron Wasserman, who was the composer of that, who worked on staff at Saban, and who also gave the world Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song.
This one guy.
Twice.
Salute.
Yep. I used to go to sleep with those tunes in my head.
Right.
They are very catchy.
Man.
Well, Lucas, thank you for this, and
and you too, Daniel.
Of course. We will
thank you.
Thank you for your time and for a very great products. We would love to have you guys on again. Yeah.
I guess you were asking what's next for us. What we'd like to have next for us is the world kind of reopen and get a chance to go do them. We're traveling to cons. We didn't get a chance to do that this year, and we really missed that.
So we could keep in touch. If we do anything near Raleigh, we'll let you know. And
for sure.
And like I put it out into the ether, hey, what if X-Men? What if? Come on, call me.
We're ready to work.
It is going to happen in this lifetime. I promise you. Just keep speaking it out there. It's going to come back to you.
Going to Mars. Who thought that would happen in my lifetime? So.
Yeah.
Come on now.
All right, guys.
Gang, this is a real treat talking to you. We really
thank you so much, and have a great rest of you guys' day. Thank you for talking.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Appreciate you,
thank you. Okay.
Care,
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.